waiting for the cheapest cost. All right. Okay.
Recording in progress.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Again, we are privileged to have with us former Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Thank you so much, Justice, for carving out time from your very busy schedule for our little show here.
Thank you for having me again, Richard, and thank you to our viewers.
Thank you so much. Sorry, Justice, naka-Oxford shirt ako ngayon kaya medyo gentlemanly ang aking introduction. But later on, babalik din tayo sa Bartagulan. But there are a couple of things I want to ask you, Justice, on issues of conflict of interest because that has been raised vis-a-vis the Bongo aspect, vis-a-vis the Cheese Escudero allegations of I don't know, misdeeds or conflict of interest. And then of course Sara Duterte, after a year, finally my explanation pala siya sa confidential fund. Not the quickest thinking approach, but we can discuss that. But before we go to all of those things, Justice, I want to just look at the latest survey by Pulse Asia, which shows almost a double digit drop in approval rating of no, well, not almost a double digit, towards that not insignificant number in terms of drop in popularity of President BBM. Sara's also went down, although interestingly with the survey it looks like the geographic divide is really kind of staring us, diba? Staring at us kasi sa Mindanao parang 4% lang yata yung approval ni BBM. And then at the same time, barely a quarter of people in NCR and other regions here in Luzon naman are supporting of Sara. So clearly there's a regional divide. Nevertheless, both of them numbers down, but this would be more depressing for BBM considering not only from a lower base, but siguro he was expecting na after opening up all this anti-corruption investigation, he would be in a slightly better place. And yet here we are, Justice. What is your read of the situation?
Well, I think BBM cannot escape responsibility. It's happening during
Yeah.
his watch, and he also approved the budget, the 2025 budget, and all the unprogrammed releases, releases from the unprogrammed appropriations,
Right.
are specifically approved by him because special budget is required to be approved by the president, and he also approved the insertion. So
Yeah.
difficult for him to get out of this unless the ICI and the ombudsman will come out with results. Unless people are charged and the trial proceeds quite quickly, then the people will start to believe that he is sincere. But right now, it's difficult
Right.
to to expect that his numbers will go up because the people are really dismayed. I mean, they're really uh, uh, they really think that this is too much. This kind of corruption in government is just
Mm.
too much, involving the the Senate, the House, uh, and the DPWH, which is under the president. No?
So too much, too little. Too much in terms of yung corruption dahil $10 billion, hindi na 10 billion pesos. Pero too little in terms of at least indications of a movement towards accountability, Justice?
Yes, well, yes. This is I think this is the greatest corruption scandal in Philippine history. You're reaching already a trillion peso, and the it happened during his watch, uh, and nothing. There's nothing to show for that that people are being prosecuted. It's still in the initial stages. So you expect his numbers to go down at this point.
Justice, newly installed, newly appointed Ombudsman Remulla said that mga isang taon siguro ang tinitignan nila for filing of the cases, putting together the cases. Is that reasonably is that a reasonable time frame? Justice in legal within the legal universe, but at the same time given the politics and parang iba yung timing ng politics, iba yung timing ng ano, 'di ba? The legal world. I mean, how do you see that? Is 1 year too long, too short, just enough? How do you see that?
Well, he was, I think, referring to the trial in the
Mm,
Sandigan Bayan, that
right.
trial will be finished, and probably, at least from at the level of the Sandigan Bayan, there will be a decision. Well, it's rather very optimistic, but it's still doable uh, with respect to cases involving ghost projects.
Yeah.
Because if the case involves ghost projects, it will progress quite fast
Faster, yeah.
because, of course, it's easy to prove. I mean, uh, there's no there's no construction at all.
There's
So
easy to prove because
and
there's nothing to prove. It's like
so even the defendants cannot present anything because
right,
it's a ghost project. Uh, but when in other cases it might take longer than 1 year now.
right.
So the 1 year is very optimistic, but it's possible, doable with respect to ghost projects.
Thank you for that, Justice. Obviously, the politics is like like the timing is also important from a political standpoint. I wonder like how can Ombudsman Office reassure the Filipino people that is moving in the right direction, like or in general state institutions like. Kamusta Justice yung situation na ng mga Diskaya because they're not even showing up dun sa ICI, di ba? What the heck is going on? Parang ayaw man lang nila magpakita. And then of course there's also this debate about restitution as well as of course retribution. Like can you discuss that aspect, Justice, and what are your concerns and what are if anything encouraging signs?
Well, the Discayas are not showing up anymore because they're not getting what they want. Uh,
Right.
they are not being accepted as state witnesses because they're not revealing everything, and
Right.
they will not surrender their
Yeah.
ill-gotten wealth. No, so it's hard to justify accepting them as state witness while they keep all the loot. And you're talking of billions,
Yeah.
tens of billions, or hundreds of billions of pesos here. So they're probably the most guilty here. Uh, but for certain, they are not uh,
Only.
the least guilty.
Right.
So very hard to accept them as state witnesses. If they reveal everything and return everything, probably they could be accepted. But that's not going to happen the way I look at it. And the disguise are probably also banking on the people who are supporting them because if they talk, then these politicians will be exposed and they, will- they will be included. So the Discayas are probably hoping that they will be protected by these people who could be dragged into the cases. No? But I think it's they correctly assess that they will not be granted state witness status.
I feel bad for them. Kasi Justice, marami tayong mga Diskaya diehard supporters na it sounds like DDS too, right? Like na andito and they're saying, bakit naman nagfo-focus masyado tayo sa mga Diskaya? They're just pawns in this scheme. Are they just pawns, Justice? In what sense are they not just pawns?
Ano yan, they're not.
Pawn. Hindi lang sila ano lang, parang hindi lang sila ginamit ng mga politiko. Parang ginamit lang daw sila ng mga politiko eh. Hindi naman sila talaga yung masterminds. In what sense they are victims of manipulation and power struggle of politicians.
Well, it takes two to tango. So, uh, well, they could be equally, in my view, they could be equally guilty as congressmen, the senators who made the insertions, because for
Right.
them, that's really the start of this is the insertion, because without the insertions, there will be no project like this. So they could be equally as guilty as the members of Congress who made those insertions, because as the witnesses stated, the district engineers testified that they knew that these insertions will only be allocated and bidded out if they get the consent of the congressmen, the senators who made the insertions. I mean, that was the understanding. So, and I think that's the understanding in the DPWH, in the DBM, in Congress, and even in the office of the president. I mean, this will not happen without the understanding that kind of understanding among the for these four agencies of government. So they're probably banking that they could bring the house down
Right.
if they. So they expect to be protected by these people.
Just as so far, of course, itong corruption scandal na yan ay mga sangkot dyan or yung mga sabihin natin symbols of itong scandal na to. Marami sa kanila malapit sa presidente. Some of them more than malapit sa presidente. Some of them lost very high level positions. But if you think about Zaldico, for instance, it's intriguing because last time I checked, Zaldico also had very good projects under Digong, right? There are all of these pictures of Zaldico and Digong back in the day. His company, Sunwest, had very, very sunny days during the Digong time. I wonder why yung mga kaibigan natin na DDS, they tend to like have an amnesia about how Zaldico was juicing it also during Duterte's time. How is Zaldico a kind of BBM creature when in fact he was really rising through the ranks during Digong's time?
Well, he's the epitome of a of a businessman, politician who will attach himself to whoever is in Malacanang, whoever is in power. So he will always be there because his objective is to get contracts to to ensure that there is a budget for there's a allocation, budgetary allocation for his projects, whether these projects are ghost projects or not. So that's the nature of contractors who have become businessmen or who have become legislators. I mean, they don't care who is in. They don't follow any ideology, any political line. Uh, they just carry favor with whoever is in power.
And the more corrupt those in power, the closer and the thicker the carry, the juicier the carry. Wala akong sinasabi, of course, justice. But, no, I mean, I want to go into a couple of interesting cases, especially including Sara Duterte's. Finally, my explanation pala siya sa confidential phone niya. Medyo delayed reaction. But going back to this, Justice, can we remind everyone what was the track record of Digong pagdating sa fighting what he said? A whiff of corruption. Last time I checked, some people got not once, not twice, three times reappointed. Hindi ko na kailangan pangalanan itong mga tao na to. They can just Google three times reappointed during Digong, even though may corruption scandals, di ba? How strong is Duterte's record in fighting against what he said poetically, a whiff of corruption, Justice Carpio?
Well, he had a lot of people who had already a questionable record.
Right.
He appointed people who were not qualified, like Michael Young as his economic advisor, and he retained people. He took them out of customs and gave them another position in government.
Right.
So it's not exactly exemplary in this regard. And Sara, I think,
Not
came out
exactly exemplary, Justice Carpio. Like, sounds like how Justice Ascuna would explain certain legal. Not exactly. Justice, parang may diplomatic skills tayo.
well, Sara came out. VP Sara came
Yeah.
out with an explanation how she spent the confidential funds. She said she used it in her department when she was a deputy secretary to ferret out those involved in the
Right.
computer scam. But this is detective work, and I think I don't think that he had people who were qualified to do that. She should have given this task to the NBI
Right.
to do it. How could she have been doing this on her own, doing detective work? No, so it's quite strange, and she has to show results of this detective work that she did on the computer scam there. So, but there's another issue there that, in fact, the Isambayan filed a case before the Supreme Court saying that there is no law authorizing the allocation and use of confidential funds by these agencies,
Right.
civilian agencies, and the Constitution requires a law for that. The the EO of President Duterte then is not sufficient because it's
Right.
not a law. So uh, I think that explanation is very weak.
Parang ano ba yun, usurpation of NBI's military intelligence. Like, just to be clear, I think sinabi niya, there were many reports of corruption inside the Department of Education, not just in the central office, but also the regional offices. Malawak daw ang corruption. Kaya they needed siguro daw itong confidential fund, quote, so whenever there are reports, we will investigate. And one of those we investigated was the laptop deal. So yung pala, she did us a favor, Justice Carpio. We had to give her hundreds of millions of confidential funds so that she gets to the bottom of this laptop scandal in Department of Education. Just as it's very interesting, no? I mean, galing siguro ng staff ni Sara, no? On one hand, may Mandarin interpreter sila, 'di ba? Yung siguro na practice pa nila yung Jessica, I don't know if you've asked your Chinese Mandarin speaking friends. Sabi nung isa, she did Mandarin like when you do French, tapos binabasa mo lang yung words without the, it's like, hindi parang Bordeaux, you say Bordeaux. Parang ganun daw nangyari. Parang ang galing ng staff niya, no? They do NBI work, they do DFA work, they do military intelligence, ibang klase. At ngayon, sinama pa tong 1 year delayed explanation. But my goodness, just as Formali issue is finally coming back. I was always shocked. You mentioned Michael Yang, by the way. I'm not saying they're related, but maybe they are. No, I mean, Formali issue. Pwede ba ibalikan ng ombudsman yan? Because this was just like 4 or 5 years ago, right? So pasok pa rin dun sa statute of limitation and all. Like, how serious
Yes,
was the Formali scandal?
yeah, it's still it has not prescribed.
Yeah.
It takes about 12 years, 17 years to
Right.
for the crime to prescribe. No, and simple lang yun eh. In the Formally issue, we purchased Sinovac vaccines, di ba?
Right.
And Indonesia and Thailand also purchased Sinovac vaccines, and they published their prices,
Right.
the price at which they bought all of these Sinovac vaccines from China. But the Duterte administration refused to disclose the price at which they bought the Sinovac vaccines because if it's very high compared to the prices that Indonesia and Thailand paid, then may problema. I mean,
yeah.
who pocketed the difference, no? So up to now, we don't know how much the Philippine government paid for these
Wow.
vaccines, Sinovac vaccines. And I have friends who went to the Supreme Court asking the Supreme Court to direct the DOH to divulge, to reveal the prices of these vaccines, and there has been no action so far from the Supreme Court. So now that there's a new ombudsman, the new ombudsman can just ask the DOH, give me the prices at which the Philippine government paid for this, because I will get also the prices that Thailand and Indonesia paid. And you can see there could be a vast difference, no? See, it's very easy to put to rest this speculation that there was an overpricing because in Thailand and Indonesia bought theirs, their Sinovac vaccines also from China, and they publish their prices, and their prices are more or less the same.
Interesting. And also they got it ahead of us. I think we also were behind even
Yes.
even Zimbabwe ganon. But the reason I mentioned that is because Digong always tried to frame the relationship with China as special relationship. The way they talk about yung mga vaccines, parang libre yung vaccines. So baka naman just they didn't wanna reveal the price kasi baka mabuking na hindi pala freebies ang binibigay ng China. Baka na-hurt lang sila for China's soft power, hindi kaya.
Well, if the price is low or about equal,
Bonjour.
they would not stonewall. They would just reveal it, and that's the end of the
Yeah.
story. But if you're not revealing it, then you're hiding something. I suspect that they cannot reveal the price because people will complain. How come it's so high? Nobody will complain if it's low.
Nasaan si Duque, by the way? I mean, he would have been at the center of all of these things, right? He would have known it. I mean, whether it's the Farmali scandal, vaccine prices scandal, all the budget that were cleared during Duterte under, basically no transparency, zero transparency conditions. Diba? I mean, back in the day, just nakakatakot mag-question ng gobyerno eh. Pwede ka ma-cyber libel agad eh. I remember those days. They were scary days for anyone who would criticize any aspect of the government's policies.
Well, I remember Secretary Duque then saying that it was President Duterte who approved the
Yeah.
transfer of the funds from his department, DOH, to the DBM for
Yeah.
DBM to purchase these vaccines. So there was a transfer of funds approved by the president because on his own he cannot transfer it. He has
Yeah.
no power to transfer the funds. So he stated that it was the president who authorized it, although the President Duterte, did not expressly say, yes, I authorize it. So that's the other thing, because if the prices of Sinovac, at which the prices at which we pay for this are high compared to the prices that Thailand and Indonesia paid,
Yeah.
and it was President Duterte who authorized the transfer of the funds, then he was part of it from the very beginning. No?
Now, I know Duterte is basically...
Because remember, this special purchasing body, the DBM, is a separate unit under the office of the president. It's actually it's the president who appoints and supervises this DBM unit. It's there in the charter. So it was the president who ordered the transfer of DOH funds to this unit under the office of the president, although it's called DBM something. And so whatever those people did was with his upon his authorization. No? So it's you can really close the loop here.
Close the loop here. Pero naka-archive na si Digong sa ICC. So paano? Does it make sense? Hindi ba parang ano yan? Beating down na... No, but it's about chain of command, dodginess, right?
Yeah, we just have to find out what happened, because then we know who got the money if there was an overprice. No? And we can have a law saying that in future cases there should be an express public authority by the president authorizing the transfer of funds. It cannot be just verbal, because Duque is saying it was just verbal.
Well, I won't be surprised if Digong is just like that, like parang mga gangster mayor style lang yung kanyang ano. No, but just is going back to this, gaano ka malalim yung skandalo na yan? Kasi it's also PPEs, di ba? Ang daming daming nangyayaring kalokohan ng pandemic, and then you suddenly realize, oh, Vince Dizon was the pandemic czar, right? Like, it's like, oh, like suddenly things are lock in and lock out. Like, what are you realistically expecting on the Farmali part? Because that was a massive scandal during Digong, which obviously under Digong's time, good luck with going after him. There was impunity. But now, do you see just something moving on that front? Gaano ka mahalaga yan for accountability?
Well, I think
medyo sindikato.
the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee at the time, Senator Dick Gordon, is pressing the ombudsman to reinvestigate it.
Right.
And I support him, because this is the worst crime that any government official can commit.
Yeah.
It's a pandemic. There's
grabe, di ba?
there's a disease that's wreaking havoc on the people, and you make money out of this medicine or out of the vaccine. So I think this should be scrutinized. This should be investigated deeply by the ombudsman. No?
Yun nga, incompetent na nga. One of the worst pandemic yung nangyari sa Southeast Asia sa atin, di ba? Highest death rates, highest economic damage, tapos biglang pinaka-strict pero delayed naman na lockdown. We were always at the bottom of the rankings, di ba? Any rankings on the management of the COVID. And then yun, pinarahan pa pala, di ba? So, this is a serious issue. But, yun nga, back in the day, remember, Justice, binabastos lang ni Digong sila Dick Gordon and all. Di ba parang, ang laki ng
Yeah.
tiyan mo Dick Gordon, di ba ginaganon lang niya, di ba Dick, ang laki ng tiyan mo, ganun lang, he was just bullying the senators back then. Si Lacson na nga, hindi makagalaw eh.
Yeah, because takot sa kanya eh, no?
Absolutely.
But there's a time for everything, and now that we have a new ombudsman, he's open to reinvestigating this, and I think he should. And
Yeah.
it's very easy because you just compare the prices. Uh, Pag mataas ang atin, bakit tayo pumayag, no? I mean, we're
Right.
supposed to be good friends with China. The president at least was saying that he's a very good friend of the Chinese leadership. But why if the prices were high, how come he accepted high prices compared to what Indonesia and Thailand paid? So it's a very simple case.
Right, right. Very simple case of something really went wrong, and like we really have to get to the bottom of it. I'm really shocked at how,
It's just as I'm very curious, Richard, because
yeah,
all ma- because the guy who filed this was a friend of mine, Joel Cadiz. He
yeah,
brought it to the Supreme Court, and all he's asking is, ano bang presyo
presyo.
binayad
Yeah,
natin?
exactly.
How much did we pay for this vaccine? And nobody in government is giving him the answer. He
Something
went
went
to the
wrong, really.
DOH,
Yeah.
he went to COA, he went to other agencies. Nobody is telling him. So why can't we know the actual price? Indonesia and Thailand already published the prices. Bakit sa atin, we cannot get the answer? So simple.
Mm. Baka Justice, parang yung kay Sara, 1 year delay yung kanyang explanation. Baka na naman after 1 decade, biglang, ito pala yung mga prices natin. Like, medyo delayed mag-clarify itong mga kaibigan natin na DDS. Now, speaking of, people forget, like Vince Dizon was the pandemic czar during the time. Magalong was the contact tracing czar. I mean, it's an interesting world, right? But I want to mention another interesting person, Bongo. Right? Who was de facto consigliere, right-hand man. I don't even know ano bang trabaho niya, senador, presidential assistant, lahat na lang, di ba? Photo bomber. But now, of course, Bongo is also in hot waters. Senator Trillanes is already mukhang press ahead na siya with the filing of corruption cases. But, amidst all of this scrutiny, let's say heightened scrutiny of Bongo's track record, one of the explanation I heard from Bongo's side, to be fair to me, is hindi mo naman mapipili yung mga kapamilya mo or mga relatives mo kung biglang nagkaroon sila ng marami magandang projects. Justice Carpio, it's hard to argue that, right? Diba? Hindi mo naman talaga mapipili yung pamilya mo. But how does the conflict of interest principle apply in legal terms?
Well, if you own a company or your family owns a company, the rule is that company, your family should not should not enter into a contract with the government. If you are a member of Congress, like a senator,
Yeah.
because you cannot be interested in any contract with the government. Now, sasabihin niya, hindi naman ako stockholder dyan, it's my father.
Yeah.
But ang initial ng company, initial niya eh. And then, of course, you cannot say that it's my father who's, because if the father, something happens to the father, he will inherit the shares of the
Yeah.
father. No? So, being a member of the same family, I think that would fall under the term directly or indirectly interested in a contract.
Right.
So it's something to be looked into because there's a prohibition if you are a member of the Senate or Congress. You cannot be interested in any contract involving the government.
But Justice, he was not just a senator, he was also the presidential assistant. He was also like, lahat na lang sa kanya. Like, hindi kaya pwede niya sabihin, since I do everything, alangan naman, my family will not do anything kasi I'm everything. Hindi kaya pwede ganun logic, Justice Carpio.
As far as the public is concerned, if your father owns it,
Yeah.
kasama ka na rin doon, di ba?
Yeah.
That's a family business. But legally, you can raise it that technically I'm not a stockholder, no, but politically it's difficult to justify, and getting that much contracts. I mean, billions of pesos. I mean, these contracts don't just land on your lap, no. A lot of legwork has to be done to get these contracts, and if you are the photo bomber of the president, people will think that you have the ear of the president, no? So, I mean, nobody, of course, politically will say, will accept that excuse, no? I mean, politically, legally, you can fight it out, but uh, uh, in terms of a public uh, expectation of a government official, I mean, nobody will believe you when you say that. uh,
What about just is
I
the
have
argument
nothing to do
na,
with it.
what about just the argument, hindi ko naman kasalanan ng kapamilya ko, pero hindi ko rin kasalanan na napakagaling nila. Kasi kahapon lang, biglang 7-Eleven, ngayon biglang buong SM Mall. Hindi ba kay Justice, baka siguro na-inspire sila kasi digong president, nag-level up sila ng skills nila. We would have deprived the country of really capable contractors, Justice. Isn't that a valid argument?
Well, I mean, uh, we all know how business works, how contracts are entered into this country. I mean, you can say I have nothing to do with it. My name is not there, but you
Yeah.
can do the bulong, no? And especially if it's if it's your father who owns the company and the company bears your initials,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to tell the people na you had nothing to do with it.
Yun nga eh. Yun nga eh. Yun nga eh.
I mean, yun yung sinasabi mo, tell that to the Marines.
Kawawa naman yung mga Marines natin. At least palaban sila sa West Philippines yan. Like itong mga ka-DDS natin. Which brings me to another interesting case of... parang I see more deniability than plausibility, right? But eto na, si Jesus Quedero naman, Justice Carpio. Wag muna natin pag-usapan si Jinggoy and Joel. Medyo nawala sila ng konti sa usapan. But speaking of cheese, hindi ko pa umakit ng... Speaking of cheese, sabi naman niya, hindi naman niya alam na may ganyan sa contractor, ganyan-ganyan. Private lang naman, friend lang, ganyan-ganyan. Ano yung, anong, may, ano ba yan, Justice? May ano yan? How should I put it?
Well,
Is it palatable, that kind of argument?
Well, in the case of cheese, the law says that you cannot accept campaign contribution directly or indirectly from a natural or juridical person,
Right.
which has a public works contract with the government. So, ito naman si Lubiano has his company, di ba? Yung
Yeah.
company is, ano yung pangalan? Centerways.
Yeah.
Centerways Construction. He owns 99 point something percent. So, how can you separate the personality of Lubiano as a person and his company? He owns it completely. 99 point something percent probably.
Nag-effort pa siya. Sino ba yung point?
Directors lang. So, who directs the company? Siya. So, sabi, hindi naman daw yung construction company ang nag-donate. Siya naman personally.
Ayun. Oh.
Private fund. Pero nakalagay, you cannot contribute directly or indirectly, no? So, I think it should go to the Supreme Court. So, the Supreme Court will make a decision. Kasi we have this concept in the law, piercing the veil of corporate fiction.
Yeah.
If you totally control the company,
Yeah.
and an act is committed in violation of a law, the law will pierce the corporate veil.
Right.
So, iba ito, the act of instead of piercing the corporate veil here, what you will do is, since Lubiano controls completely the company, he owns 99.9%, 99% or more of the company. So, I think, in my personal view, when he made a personal decision, that's indirect contribution by
Mm.
Centerways. No? And because you after that contribution, lumobo yung contracts ng Centerways from from the
Right.
government. No? So I think it should be decided by the Supreme Court. Ano ba ito?
Ang dami palang trabaho ng Supreme Court Justice. Ang hirap pala. Maybe we need to
It's
make
go all the
multiple...
way. Because nakalagay directly or
Yun nga,
indirectly.
indirectly
So
din eh. Yeah.
it's that contribution of Lubiano,
Right.
an indirect contribution of Centerways, because
Yeah.
Lubiano controls 99% or more of Centerways. Hindi, you cannot separate the personality. He completely dominates and controls the company.
Yun nga eh. I mean, cheese is a very good, marami siyang mga, ano eh, sophistry, chemistry, ganun. So let's see how is he gonna get himself out of it. So Justin, we're towards the end of this discussion. Thank you so much for this really, really comprehensive discussion. But I wanna end on again, this is something we have been warning since last December at least. Um, people are saying that baka next month, may mga rumors di umano na may isang malaking religious group might pull off something like they pulled off earlier this year, except now we're looking at something that will come on the heels of what happened in Menjola, blah blah blah, that there's so we established that things are probably half full, half empty. Is that how you see it, Justice, when it comes to the dealing with the corruption issue? What do you think is important to make sure that nothing gets out of control next month? And then again, I mean, you coming from Davao, some people are saying maybe sedition, people power in Manila is not very likely, but what about secessionist moves or agitations back in Mindanao by supporters of the Dutertes? I mean, how serious are these kinds of concerns, Justice? How to prevent the worst case scenarios?
Well, I'm sure from the side of the church and the civil societies organizing the trillion peso march this November 30,
Right.
and in fact, ANIM already issued a statement signed by their Secretary General that they are not for uh, extra constitutional
Right.
change in government. So they will follow the Constitution, and so from the group that has organized the Trillion Peso March, I do not see any problem. But of course, we cannot uh, predict what the other groups will do, like the
Yeah.
Pro Duterte group, whether they will repeat what they did last September 21. We cannot tell what they're going to do. Now that's their own action. But as far as the Trillion Peso March organizers are concerned, it will be a peaceful rally. The priests and the nuns will be there. We will be there, and we assure the public that we are not part of any extra constitutional uh, uh, adventures here. No.
I mean, just as to what degree should we even take them seriously in light of did you see yung ginawa nila sa Forbes na mga dumaan lang yung mga medyo may edad na vloggers at si Meow Meow ano na pati yung mga BDDS nagalit din sa kanya. Ikaw mag-organize, ikaw pang late, mali pang napuntahan mo, tapos nag-computer games pa, tapos na late sa ethics committee the next day. I mean, Justice, are we lucky kasi purong mga clown show tong mga masasamang tao sa atin? Or like, maybe we should also still be careful. Like, I'm sorry, Justice. Sometimes, like, it's so ridiculous. I don't know. Why are we even taking these people seriously? Although, fortunately, we have to err on the side of caution.
Well, there are many kinds of
Yeah.
people who are part of this play.
Yeah.
We have people like like Barzaga, who obviously is doing it on his own. Uh, he might be egged by the DDS, but I think he's doing it his own way.
Yeah.
We're not worried about that, but we're worried about people
Yeah.
who sent those black-clad masked
Yeah.
people
Right,
last
right.
September 21. I mean, that's the kind of demonstration that we don't want to happen. No?
Yeah, exactly, kaya nga that kind of more Menjola style kind of violence. Hindi yung meow meow, more like Menjola. Last point, Justice Carpio. On a serious note though, where's the superpower dimension here? I mean, there were many people questioning bakit may US embassy representative pumunta sa ICI. Although, of course, we know that US has an interest because some of their aid is tied to their perception of corruption in the Philippines. Not to mention they have also investors, blah, 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 blah. But others would say this is imperial intervention, anong paki ng US, as if naman US is a beacon of democracy nowadays, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, there are also people saying that, that logically China would be a winner. Whether sedition, whether secession, what kind of whatever this the instability, because that just gives them more room for maneuvers at West Philippine Sea. Where do you see that aspect coming in, Justice?
Well, I think the U.S., just like the European countries, are worried because, of course, they have investments in the country,
Right.
and they have to assure also their investors, their countrymen, when investing here, that it's okay to invest here. No, so they want
Yeah.
to know. That's their job, to monitor what's happening here, so they can report to their home office and to their business people whether it's worth investing in the Philippines. So I think that's the normal work of diplomats. Now, would it benefit China? Yes, of course, it will benefit China if we have a regime change here
Yeah.
that's not in accordance with the constitution. That will be that will destabilize the economy,
Yeah.
not only the political system. So uh, that's why all the groups now are saying no. We want to stay within the constitution. This is we are not doing anything that's outside of the constitution. So we have to repeat that to assure everybody, because anyway, elections is just 2.5 years away, and
Right.
we have a chance to put in a new president at the time. No?
Absolutely, which is really the point. I think it's perfect to close it on that, Justice. Is it important there's more clarity on who's the leader of the opposition? I mean, clearly Lenny's still very busy with the situation in Naga. That's a huge challenge for her. I don't know with Bam, ano ba yung blockchain ba yung latest ano niya? But Kiko has been stepping up. Kiko Pangilinan, I think, has been doing a very good job since returning to Senate. Risa Ontiveros again reiterated in a talk in Harvard last week na bukas siya to run as the president. You think it's important that there's a clarity on who's going to be the flag bearer for the opposition? I know this is a tough theme for you considering the One Sambayan experience, but isn't precisely your experience with struggling to put the unified front back in 2022, isn't that supposed to give you better insights into what should happen in the coming years? I mean, we're not here to impose on anyone who should be the leader, but isn't it sensible ngayon pa lang there's a more clarity on that kaysa maghintay na naman tayo hanggang 2 years from now? I mean, who knows, even there'll be no coup or whatever. I mean, like, things are very fluid, right?
Well, ideally, we should have one or two strong candidates
Yeah.
who are already working
Yeah.
to run for 2028, but it's not happening. So we just have to bring clarity
Yeah.
to who will be our candidates in 2028. Uh, it's, uh, they're saying that there will be a decision 1 year from now, 1 year before the election. I think that will be too late. We should be
Yeah,
prepared
it's too late. Yeah.
earlier this time. We cannot afford to prepare the last minute. So I hope that there will be a consensus soon.
Yeah, I mean, my best argument against that last minute kind of argument is, yeah, even if you win in 2028, Sabihin niyo, "Oh, ito na naman sila Richard, Carpio, Ronald, nangingay na naman sila, ito na naman sila." Trust us, kami, we run elections, we can win, blah, 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 look at 2025, ganun. Ang point ko is, if you're just gonna win the election, but you don't have a strong movement behind you, you're not gonna be very effective to, di ba? Kahit presidente ka man, kung ang kongreso mo, ang senado mo, di ba, ang LGU mo, purong trapo rin, hindi mo rin magawa yung kailangan mo eh, di ba? Kaya nga, Justice, I was saying, hindi mahalaga dito yung manalo lang ang presidente mo. Dapat talaga may kilusan, dapat talaga competitive ka sa multiple levels of government. Para kung nakapasok yung maayos na kandidato, may laban ka talaga na baguhin yung sistema, no? Justice, kasi ganun ang tingin ko, that's the only way that this could work eh. Even if we get a good president, he can or she can just do so much if purong trapo rin yung ibang branches of the state. We saw that with Pinoy eh. I mean, he tried his best at times. He was not perfect, obviously, but wala, hindi naman niya makontrol lahat ng trapo sa Kongreso and Senado and all of the other branches.
Yeah, so what we plan to do is to launch People's Initiative
Yeah.
to adopt the anti-political dynasty law, and I think
Yeah.
this will prepare us for the next
Right.
election, because we will have a philosophy. We have a
Yeah.
we have
My framework.
flagship project
Yeah.
behind which people can rally, no? So hopefully that will galvanize
Yeah.
the people.
Mabuhay ka, Justice Carpio. Maraming salamat. Actually, people keep on asking about this people initiative na to because this is the good one. This is the good PI, not that other PI. So, please feel free, Justice, to forward to us if there are places where people can volunteer, could help. Kasi people are also very interested in being part of a movement. Hindi lang nag-iingay online or umaasa lang na two bad people go down. So thank you so much, Justice Carpio, for your service to the country. Mabuhay ka. Please take care of yourself. Kayo ni Ronald, Sir Ronald, kailangan namin kayo eh. Mahabang runway to eh. And the next few months are gonna be intense. So maraming salamat, Justice Carpio. Have a lovely evening and talk to you soon. God bless po.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you to our viewers.
Salamat, Justice. God bless. All right. Thank you very much, guys. There we had Justice Antonio Carpio with us. Marami tayong pinag-usapan, legal analysis, political analysis, but also most importantly, democratic advocacy. So meron din si Justice and People's Initiative to push for some sort of Supreme Court ruling or something against the political dynasties. Because unfortunately, hindi tayo pwede umasa sa mga political dynasties to pass something against themselves, right? Dahil walang operational law. Ang meron tayong provision sa ating saligang batas against political dynasties, but nothing beyond that. So, for me, if ang tinitingnan lang natin dito is sino magiging presidente, ganun, I think you're just scratching the surface. Even if maayos yung susunod na presidente natin, kung hindi maayos yung sistema, kung hindi maayos yung kilusan, hindi maayos yung mga na-elect sa iba't ibang bahagi ng ating gobyerno, malabo pa rin. There's just so much that even a good president can do. On that note, thank you very much. Maraming salamat. I hope you enjoyed all sorts of discussions we had this year. Again, despite the crazy, difficult schedule, time differences, issues, and commitments, we were able to squeeze in a lot. So, pasensya na if some people feel we're not good enough in terms of our production. Parang sorry na lang sa inyo. Wow, next level kayo. May mga walang yan. Bakit may mga advertisement, ganyan pang mo, blah, blah, blah. Parang, sa tingin nyo, libre yung mga sa tingin nyo, libre yung production cost namin. Like, di ba? So, baka naman, konting understanding and appreciation naman dyan. Although, of course, we're never perfect. Also, by the way, shout out naman dyan, hindi sa mga trolls na, well, sige na nga, thank you na rin kasi pinataas yung engagement natin, di ba? But, shout out naman dyan sa mga kasama natin dyan sa parating na, hindi ko ala, sorry. Yung, with due respect, of course, dyan sa DZMM, kasama ng mga kaibigan natin. And then naman yung mga na comment, oh, DZMM, di ba, ganito, ganyan. Parang, I'm still with One News, I'm still with Inquirer, I'm still working with 10 different, publications, newspapers, think tanks all around the world. So please lang. Okay, wag yung mga tabid na comment na ganyan. Alright, on that note, thank you very much. God bless, and please don't forget to follow us on different platforms, including on YouTube, Richard Hedaran Deep Dive, dito, Richard Hedaran 007 sa TikTok, although I'll put the deep dive more clearly soon. And of course, dyan sa ating Facebook page, yan talagang original mga kameta natin dyan. Dyan nagsimula ang lahat, the OG ng ating mga deep dive platforms initially started as Meta. On that note, thank you very much. God bless, and talk to you soon.